So if you run NixOS, one of the terms that you might have heard is flakes. Flakes, flakes, flakes. What is a flake? How do you use a flake? What are they used for? You know, you might have heard about these terms, and there's not, unfortunately, there's not a lot of videos out there describing what a flake is. And if you do find those videos, typically those videos are 2 or 3 years old. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to try my best to describe what a flake is. I'm going to show you how to build a simple flake, and then I'm going to show you a couple of different flakes that I have here on my system. That way, it will give you a better understanding of how flakes work and all of that. Okay, so what is a flake? Well, a flake is just a way to manage your Nix packages, right? It's a way to manage the Nix packages dependencies. It's also a way to install software. Okay, and it even has a built-in version control type system. So one of the coolest things about NixOS is that it's reproducible, right? Well, it's reproducible. So if someone wanted to give me their system, how would they really do that? Well, they would give me their Configuration.nix file, and if they were using Flakes, they would just give me their Flake. And I would run their Flake. That Flake would then read their Configuration.nix file, figure out all of the packages that needs to be pulled down and installed, and I would have their system, right? So that's one of the really cool things about Flakes, is that you can do so many different things with these, and you know, depending on what you're doing, they might have different meanings, okay? But just understand that all it is a way to manage Nix packages and a way to manage Nix package dependencies. That's all it is, okay? So let me go ahead and flip over to the desktop, and I'm going to show you how to build just a custom flake. Nothing too crazy. We're not setting up Home Manager. I'll do another Home Manager video some other time. This is just a basic, a very, very basic flake, okay? All right, so we got a terminal pulled up here. Let me increase this font size for you guys. I do have Alacrity kind of pulled up here. I was trying to get the font to zoom in a little bit on Kitty, and I could not get it done with my current keyboard configuration. I'm still playing around with this new keyboard, still flashing it every once in a while to try and get you know, certain key combinations working exactly the way that I need them to work. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing that we're going to do, well, I'm going to ls, right? And what I need to do is I'm going to make a new directory. We're just going to call this Flake example here, okay? And then what I want to do is I want to copy my NixOS configuration to that Flake example. All right, so we just have the configuration.nix file. So let's build our Flake, right? So we can get in NVim here, or NeoVim rather, and then we can do flake.nix. So here we are. We're in NeoVim. Okay. So a flake needs two parts. It needs a inputs and it needs an outputs. Your inputs, what your inputs are is where it's going to pull down those packages, right? So let's say that your inputs would be the Nix package Nix package GitHub. Okay, it could also be any kind of overlays or anything like that. It can be any GitHub. okay? And your outputs are generally how does it, what's it output to? And that's one of the reasons I got my configuration.nix file in here, is because it's going to output to that configuration.nix file. And they're going to work hand in hand. Okay, so the way that we do this is we need a opening and closing curly. Okay. Next, we need a description. Now, a description, I don't think a description is mandatory, but it does help out quite a lot. Specifically, if people, if someone got your flake and they was like, "What's this flake do?" Well, having a nice description is kind of a reminder to them and to you about what this flake actually does. All right, so we can write this description. And we'll call this our test flake. Okay. And we're going to end it with a semicolon. Now, this is where we do our inputs. All right. So we do inputs, space, equal, and then we have opening and closing curlies. All right. And then at the end, we have a semicolon on this curly. And excuse me about the typing. Like I said, I'm working with the new keyboard. All right. So for inputs, where do we want to get this? Where do we want to get the packages at? Right. Nix packages dot URL equals a URL to get those packages, right? So we're going to do GitHub. And you notice we're not putting this with a dot or anything like that. Nix is smart enough to understand that this GitHub colon comes from a GitHub link, okay? Which is super, super handy. So we do Nix OS, okay? And then we do Nix packages, Nix OS unstable. Or if you was running the stable branch, then it would be the stable one, right? If you go to this link right here, this is a real GitHub link. Okay, this is real. If you do github.com/nixos/nix packages nix OS unstable, it will take you to the actual NixOS package repo on GitHub. All right, so now we have our inputs. We need our outputs block, okay? So we can do outputs space equals okay, and then we need to reference our self. So we type in self, and then we need to reference this Nix package URL. So we can do Nix packages. Okay, and now we need ... Now what this ... means is pretty much is we could put extra stuff in these blocks right here, and that tells this output block that there may be a chance later on that we stick stuff right there. That's what I understand anyway. Okay, but we do need a colon. We need a colon at the end. Okay, now we're going to do what's called a let block. Okay, so we're going to do let, and you can see it automatically inputted in, and I'll show you what that does. So next we're going to say lib equals nix packages.lib. Okay. And what are we going to do? We're going to do system. And we're going to define the system. Now, Nix packages, it works on a lot of different architectures, right? So you could have a ARM architecture. You could have a Darwin or a Mac OS architecture. What we're telling this Flake right here is that we only want to grab the packages for x86-64. Okay, so the way we do this is x86. Okay, and then I think it's underscore 64 hyphen Linux. And what this is saying just grab x86 64 hyphen Linux packages. Don't worry about any other architecture or anything like that. Okay. Now I can do packages equal Nix packages dot legacy capital packages. And this is where it gets a little weird. So let me type this out and I'll tell you what it does. All right. So with this block right here, what this does is this money sign system. This is actually referring to this. Okay. All we do is we have a variable that holds this information for us right here. That way later on in our code, we could refer to this system right here instead of just typing out this. That's all it is. Okay. So we're referring this legacy.packages or legacy packages. We are referring to x86 64 hyphen Linux. I hope that makes sense. All right. And now in our end block, okay, in our end block, we're going to say Nix OS configuration equals, and now we need another curly brackets. And both of these curlies are going to end in semicolons. Okay? Or we will definitely get errors. Okay? Now, what we say is we say our host name. So my host name on this machine is Ghost. I believe it's Ghost Nix. Okay. Space equals lib dot Nix OS system. Okay, and now we need another curly. A lot of curlies. All right, so we do space. And then we're going to inherit system. So all we're doing is we are inheriting this right here. We're inheriting x86 64 hyphen Linux. Okay? The reason we didn't need inherit up here is because we didn't have this enclosed in a curly bracket, but because we're in a new scope now, right? We actually have to, if we want to use this system variable, we have to inherit it. Checking my notes. And then we say modules. Modules equal this is where what it's actually going to output to. Okay. So we can do Configuration.nix. And if I've done this right, everything should run. All right. So what we did, we said, hey, our Nix OS configuration, okay, we want this modules line right here is we want to take it from the configuration.nix file. And remember, at the very beginning, we copied our configuration.nix file, okay, and we copied it in this directory. So all we're saying is the NixOS configuration, like section or whatever, this is the file that we're writing to. We want x86 64 Linux packages, okay, and this is the library. All right, so let's write it. Oh, I messed up, didn't I? All right, let's write it. Okay, and then let me try and pull up a terminal here, and we need to see if this actually works. I'm pretty sure this is going to work though. Okay, and then we can go to Flake example, and if we run Nix Flake show, we should get some information. It's downloading the commits and everything for the Flake right there. All right, and it creates a lock file. So you might say, "Hey, what's this lock file thing? What's it do?" Right? Well, if we look at it, okay, we look at this lock file, you'll see that it has a SHA-256 hash. Well, what's this do? Well, what this is doing is this is the exact commit that happened for the on that GitHub link, or that GitHub link, right? So you can see it says type GitHub, and you can see NixOS is the owner, repo is Nix packages. Okay, you have a hash and you have a revision. All right. When we talk about reproducibility and everything, we could actually, if we wanted to, we could stick this hash file somewhere in our flake.nix, and it would remain the same. It would never, it would never really fully update, because that's the version of the packages that we want, right? It's kind of hard to understand. It's really, really difficult to put into words kind of what that actually does. But you could take that revision, you could take that hash file, you could go over to GitHub, you could look at the commits, and you could see the exact commit of one of those SHA-256s. All right, so now you say, okay, well, we have our Flake. How the hell do we use this damn thing? How do we use it, right? Well, we could do Nix. Actually, I think I need sudo for this, because we have the configuration.nix. So we do sudo Flake, or sudo Nix OS. I can type rebuild switch Flake dot. Okay. So typically the way that you use your configuration.nix file is you just do nixos -rebuild switch. Well, now that you have a Flake, you're using the Flake. You're not just using the NixOS configuration.nix. All right. So if we did that, I messed up on my password. I already knew. All right. So it's telling me that. Oh, I messed up on NixOS configuration. Okay. Configuration. I typed everything correct. Oh, configurations. I said configuration, didn't I? It's configurations. Sorry about that, guys. Now let's try it. And we're still getting errors here. It says hardware configuration.nix, no such file or directory. Okay, I know why. So we need our hardware configuration.nix file as well. So I can just copy it, nix os. Okay. So now we have our hardware configuration.nix. We should be able to run this now. And you can see right here, it's downloading all of the crap that's in our configuration.nix file. It's using the Flake. All right. And it's doing all of this just with this. Now this is going to take a while because I have a lot of stuff in my configuration.nix file. I mean, I have too much stuff actually. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kill it. All right, I don't want to rebuild my system. I already have, my stuff set up. But that is a way to use Flakes in your NixOS setup. Okay. I hope I went over this well enough for you guys. It's really hard to make videos on this kind of stuff because it's hard to fully understand. Okay, but I want to show you now. I want to show you my actual configuration.nix file or my actual Flake, and I want to show you another Flake that I use for Rust. All right, just that way you get different perspectives. Okay. So if I do my NixOS and we look at my Flake.nix, so you will see my Flake.nix is pretty much the same exact way, okay, that we just did it. The only difference between my my Flake and the one that I showed you guys is I have Home Manager set up in my Flake. All right, but you can see it's pretty much the same exact thing. We have Home Manager right here, okay, and then all we're doing is we have home configurations down here. That's it. And we have Home Manager set up, okay, with the same exact Flake that we just pretty much built. All right, let me show you my Rust Flake. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make dir, and I'm going to say Rust example. I'm going to copy Rust Flake.nix to Rust example. Okay, and I want to do that. All right, so let's check out this Flake.nix. So this Flake is a little different. This is a little bit different than what we just saw with the configuration and stuff, right? So what this does is, you've seen this before, GitHub, NixOS, Nix packages, unstable. Okay, well, we have a new URL right here. We have a Flake utilities URL, and we also have a Rust overlay URL. Yes, your Flakes can have overlays. All right. So what this overlay does is it says, hey, this is the URL to go to get the overlay like package information. All right. And then this next package that follows, what this does is it makes sure that the next packages, it follows this link right here. It's just, it's almost like a failsafe. And then this Flake utilities that follows, it says, hey, make sure that we follow this Flake utilities URL up here. And then on the outputs up here, you can see we have self. We've seen that before. We have Nix packages. We've seen that before. But now on this one, we have Flake utils and we have Rust overlay. Okay. And that's same exact variables that we have up here. Okay. And then all we're doing is saying Flake utils lib, and we're saying for each default system, okay, this is what we want you to do. So for each default system, now in ours, remember we had the system variable, and we said, hey, the system is just going to be x86-64-Linux. Well, this is pulling in everything. Okay, so we're saying for each default system, architecture-wise, okay, import this Rust overlay. All right, and then the package will be from Nix packages, which will be here, right? And then we're saying, hey, go ahead and inherit the system, and go ahead and inherit the overlay. Okay. And then right here is our dev shell, and I'm going to show you how this works here in a second. So dev shell. So in NixOS, you can have dev shells. You can have let's see. You can have dev shells without flakes, and you can have dev shells with flakes. You can do all kinds of weird, cool stuff, and this is what makes NixOS. You can make it almost like a sandbox, right? Like if you're in a specific, like a sandbox, what it is like if you're in a specific directory, everything that you have in that directory doesn't pollute everything else outside of that directory. All right, I hope that makes sense. So all we're saying right here is, hey, this dev shell, we want you to pull in rust-bin stable.latest.default. Where do we get the latest Rust stuff? Well, we're going to get it from this overlay right here. All right. So I'm going to show you how this works. So we can do NixOS, or we can do Nix Flake show. Okay. And it's going to pull in. Remember how I said that on this one we had all of that architecture? Well, you can see all the arc stuff right here, right? We have x86-64 Darwin, we have Arch64, we have Arch64 Darwin, and of course we have Linux, right? And of course we do have a flake.lock file. And you can see right here the shells and where it's actually getting all of these packages and stuff like that. All right. Next, how do we use this Flake? How do we use a development Flake, so to speak? Well, we could do Nix develop dot, and watch what happens. Well, you guys didn't see it, but what actually happens is it pulls down. You know what? Actually, I might be able to show you this. Let me show you this a little bit better. The reason this worked faster than intended is because I had a Rust example file earlier. So let me make sure, and I'll say Rusty. All right, sorry about that. I turned on something on one of my layers and I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. So I had to unplug my keyboard, but I'll fix that later. So if we copy the flake here to Rusty, okay, and now we only have that flake.nix. Now if we do nix develop dot, well, it pulls in all the things for Rust, right? So now we can do cargo, right? We can do Rust C, everything to do with Rust, even Rust Analyzer. So it pulled in everything for Rust. All right, and it pulled in make a bunch of different things. Now, what's kind of cool is that we're in this we're in this like sandbox environment, right? So we can't contaminate and pollute the other the other directories and stuff like that. We can even get out of this. So we can do exit. All right, and now you see, now if we run cargo, oh look, cargo is not installed. But if we want cargo installed or work, boom, we just run that command, and now cargo. All right. So this is a way for you to do like development like environments. If you're familiar with Python and the Python the Python environment thing that they do with I forgot that program, but it's something kind of similar the way that Python does when you make Python projects. Okay, I forgot the name at the top of my head, but I'll also show you how I have mine set up. All right, so you notice whenever I switch into my Rust directory, what happened? Well, we had a bunch of stuff kind of happen, right? Like it spit out a bunch of gibberish. Well, this gibberish is it's everything that Rust or everything that I pulled in with the Flake, but I just do it another way. I don't like typing that nix develop dot every single time, okay? So I have this package called directory environment, all right? direnv, and I have a file in here called direnv. All right, and we also have this file called envrc. So if we read the envrc file right here, it's going to say, hey, use the flake. And what's it going to do? It's going to, all right, it's going to read this. This is going to pull down all of the stuff that I need for Rust, and it's going to automatically switch me into this this like environment. So what's kind of cool about using it like this is that I can cd or boom. You can see I'm not in that environment anymore. If I did cargo right here, I can do cargo right here. Doesn't work. If I switch to my Rust directory, cargo, it works. And I didn't have to type in any weird code or anything like that. It just automatically switches to that that environment. So, if you guys learned anything, please give me a thumbs up. I do apologize about some of the rambling. This stuff is really, it's kind of complicated, all right? And I barely understand. Like, I understand it to a point, okay? But trying to talk about it and trying to get other people to sort of understand some of this stuff. It is kind of hard, okay? But if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Or if you guys seen me make any noticeable mistakes or say anything noticeably wrong, feel free to put those down below too. I'd like to hear from you guys. And until next time, I want you guys to take care, be safe, peace. Bye, guys.